Hi folks, this is Dr. Kat Shrier. Welcome to Water Goes Virtual, our interview series talking with some of the folks who are preparing for the fall water conference season. Typically this is the time of year that we at WaterCitizen Media will be traveling to lots of different conferences and capturing a little taste of what's out there for the water community. But of course now everybody is going online, which is actually part of what started WaterCitizen to begin with. 10 years ago, is, how can we get the water community more online? So now everyone's doing it, and so we wanted to check in with folks on how they're taking their annual events and going virtual. And one of the first ones that's coming up this fall is the Floodplain Management Association in California, and our guest here today is Darren Suen, who is Director-At-Large of Floodplain Management Association, is also a former chief of the Flood Operations Center for the state of California, and currently with Central Valley Floodplain Flood Protection Board. Welcome, Darren.
Thank you, Kat. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, and I forgot one more. You're actually not out at the Bay, standing in front of the San Francisco Bay Bridge. You're closer to Sacramento, the state capital, and living in Elk Grove, where you're on the city council. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's right. Yeah. I thought the Golden Gate was a nice backdrop, as we talk about sea level rise and obviously flooding, in the state.
Absolutely. And when we talk about water conferences, so often people kind of think about drinking water and wastewater, and floodwater is sometimes the forgotten stepchild. The radio DJ says we have both kinds of music, country and western. That's sort of the water and wastewater. But floodplain management and tying it in with disaster preparedness, these are some of the real major issues. What are some of the things that you guys generally tell us a little bit about Floodplain Management Association in general, and what sorts of issues you guys are looking at?
Sure. Well, thanks for that. First of all, like you touched upon, flood is more like the fiscal orphan is what we joke about. People always talking about drinking water and water quality, but when it comes to flood, which is probably the most damaging natural disaster in the country, that nobody wants to pay for those things. And so it's always a challenge to get money for operations and maintenance. Flood improvements, are very costly as well. And so at the Floodplain Management Association, we're a chapter of the Association of State Floodplain, the ASFPM organization, Association of State Floodplain Managers. We are a group of industry individuals, professionals, government organizations, members that make that up. And we advance best practices in floodplain management and promote leadership in that capacity as well. So this is our annual conference, and this year our theme is a new decade of resilience through collaboration, integration, and mitigation. And more than ever right now, with climate change on the rise, that issue is on the forefront of everyone's minds. How do we prepare for sea level rise, flooding that comes from that? We are doing our best to bring everyone together to continue these conversations. And we've made some, as an industry, I think we made some advancements in things, and that's why it's exciting for this conference, and for folks who are looking to attend, water professionals who might want to attend. FEMA has got new tools. The National Flood Insurance Program, developed in the late 70s. Over the nearly 40 years, there's been a lot of advancement in those and things that they're trying to roll out to build a more resilient infrastructure in communities. And so that's their BRIC program that they want to roll.
That was very cool about, and I had the opportunity to cover FMA a few years back. And one of the things that was really interesting is that there was that meeting that brought together some of the FMA members and with a number of the federal agencies, right? And at the time, this was actually 2017, as I recall, and Harvey had just hit. And as we're sitting there in the meeting, they're all checking their phones because Maria is coming, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it must be kind of hard to do a flood event at a time when there's a lot of flooding and hurricane season.
Right. Well, and today, in addition to trying to respond to something like that, imagine doing it in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
So you have the COVID going on, and so we'll be having some sessions talking about, COVID, responding to flood events during COVID-19. What are some best practices there? What people are struggling with during that time? And here in California, as you probably have seen back east, we've got a ton of wildfires going on right now, and so there's a lot of worry also about flooding after fire, dealing with debris flow. So that's something else that the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, they'll have seminars about, FEMA will have seminars about that, talking about flood insurance and the importance of it in communities, and how, best practices on how to prepare to respond for flooding after fire events.
Right. And as people are looking at where they want to go for conferences, now you've had a chance to attend a virtual conference before, but in the one coming up next week, you're actually going to be presenting virtually and on a very interesting topic that people don't always think about when they're thinking about water issues. What's that going to be on?
Sure. Well, the panel is dealing with homelessness on the flood system. I had a chance to participate on the. That's a
great. That's okay. Try that again.
But I had a chance to participate on a panel, part of the National Association of State Floodplain Management Agencies, dealing with this down in Los Angeles, and it's happening all throughout the nation.
Right.
Dealing with the homeless crisis happening, and a lot of them are out on our levee systems. And what we found here in California, which is I'm sure pretty much happening across the nation, looking for shelter, the homeless population unknowingly is doing some damage to the levees, undermining, creating pathways, seepage pathways into the levees, and affecting the integrity of those levees. So how do we deal with two very important issues, right? Public safety, and of course, the delicate issue, having compassion to deal with a demographic who, they need help to get indoors, and they need mental health, and they need shelter. So they're very two important issues, and they're meeting, on our levee systems as as an intersection point. They're meeting out on our levee and flood infrastructure system.
Right. So, and you're looking at the possibilities, sleeping in culverts, sleeping in areas where there's a lot of flash floods.
Absolutely, yeah. If you go to Southern California, one of the things we saw in Orange County and Ventura County, some of them are sleeping literally in the storm drain systems. And it's incredible, some of these pictures that we've seen. And that's our. Sorry,
I was just sharing this from the Orange County event. This is actually filling backpacks during the event, and I thought this was very impressive that for an organization to have this actually in the middle of an event. In fact, I think I've got another one right here.
I think that was for Mustard Seed, the nonprofit Mustard Seed, as well, benefiting children with school supplies and stuff. I think that was for that. Yeah, I think that's the same one. Yeah. Getting them supplies and backpacks and some hygiene.
Yeah, it was toothpaste and socks and things like that. So at any rate, so that's coming up on one of your panels there. And what have you been able to do as far as realizing the time you got to get to another meeting? What sorts of ways are you preparing for that meeting there?
Well, frankly, or interestingly, I've been doing work already. We've been working alongside one of the state legislators, who was carrying a bill that would help enable any local jurisdiction to better inspect the levees, being able to remove some of the tents and personal property so that they can see what's being done. What we found was that they would dig holes, big holes in the levees, and then the tent would cover those holes, and so that would be a problem because inspectors couldn't tell if something was wrong until high water came. So that bill actually didn't make it, failed in committee. But just being able to outreach with, talk with the city of Sacramento and various reclamation. We have out here in the States, we have what we call reclamation districts, local maintaining agencies, partnering with them and talking to them about the issue, and just learning about the struggles about the work. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really an important role of association membership, as well as for water professionals in general, is the opportunity and really the obligation to get involved in communicating with public officials, and in your case, actually running for public office, and how those public agencies, when they're having hearings, when they are inviting in different organizations, or for city council to have meetings that are open to the public, how has that gone as far as switching into the virtual space?
Well, I think it's still the same in terms of being able to disseminate information. That opportunity is there. Whether the chambers is empty or full, doesn't matter whether you're virtual or physically there. I've been in plenty of chamber meetings where there's nobody there, and I've been in plenty that were absolutely full. Just depends on the issue. And virtually, it's kind of neat because if the nice thing about virtual is there's a lot of convenience in it. So if it is a topic, right, you want to be a part of, you can attend whether you're at home or you don't have to be there, or if you're away at a different meeting and you get out just in time, you can just log on. So there are some matters of convenience when doing it virtually, and sometimes so you get more people sometimes because they happen to be home and they can just log in and they don't have to be on the screen like we are right now. They can be hide that and they can just listen in. So it's kind of a interesting dynamic. So you can get a this way.
Well, and that's starting to show up as well on the online events, right? People that normally wouldn't be able to get to certain events, that can't fly there, are able to join in online. In fact, even for next week's Floodplain Management Association meeting, folks who are water professionals, maybe working more in wastewater or drinking water or groundwater or other areas, but are interested in flood issues, are able to jump onto this call as well.
Right.
Yeah, and I did also want to check as far as for those who are not able to be at home, for the essential workers, for the folks who are going out into danger, into harm's way, whether they're doing field repairs, whether they're whether they're at a plant, whether they are responding to a flood itself. How is that all happening? We talk about the Cajun Navy with the volunteers responding to hurricanes. Are people able to get out and help? Or they, and then as far as people who actually work for, say, DWR or the flood protection district?
Yeah, well, as we haven't responded yet, at least for flood. I mean, the wildfire the Cal OES is definitely they're full during responding for wildfires. But my understanding is, they're deploy the practices that the governor has issued, and public health has issued: wearing masks, maintaining social distancing wherever possible, wiping down the surfaces. Some folks are wearing gloves. So everybody's doing the best that they can to maintain those safety precautions or safety measures, all the while, trying to respond to the wildfires. And I would imagine during flood would be the something similar.
Yeah, and so, and by the way, can you kind of draw that connection between what's going on with the fires and the risks of future floods and how that ties together?
Well, there's a saying about there's always a flood that follows fire, flood after fire. And once the hills here in California, they get scorched, the surface becomes less permeable. Water's quicker to run off, doesn't soak into the ground. Obviously, you can get big breakoffs of debris flow that follow, that then can clog the storm drain systems caused a lot of flooding there, in addition to water quality issues as well.
Right. Getting into the drinking water, we've heard a lot of concerns about people who, when they are able to get back to their homes, the drinking water quality has been impacted, and that all washes in. And so for any folks out there who are thinking about, your plans for your fall conference season and aren't spending thousands of dollars on plane tickets and hotels and everything, you might be able to stretch your dollars a little further. If you're interested in adding the flood side of the picture to your continuing education as a water professional, it's definitely a great organization to check out.
For the price of a plane ticket, I think it's $300 for members and $350 for non-members. You can log in all the way. The conference goes from Tuesday to Friday. You have all, find a day on the agenda. You can log in on any of those days, register up to any of those days up to Friday. And so you can get a good education for the price of a plane ticket.
Fantastic. And hang out with fantastic people like Darren, and all the good folks out in California. And thanks again for coming out and joining us here for Water Goes Virtual. We'll see you again at the conference.
Thank you very much.
And let's see, we wanted to make sure that we got the website. If you are interested, it is floodplain.org.
Floodplain.org. Yep.
Floodplain.org, and just look for the annual conference. And very good. Well, thank you so much. You take care, and folks, we'll see you again. Check out all the interviews all season long for just a whole slew of different water conferences. Thanks a lot.
Stay safe, everybody. Bye.